That was pretty special.
I had this fear that Potsdamer Platz was actually mined, because nobody could tell us whether it was mined or not, the way these things get lost. So I had the whole of the area. I asked the authorities if they could minesweep it, which they did.
So after the first few weeks of working on the site, there were, piles of earth everywhere from all the excavations.
Many grenades and things were found, but most extraordinarily, a former SS bunker was found where Hitler had died at the end of the war.
It was pretty amazing historically.
As we were building up our show over a number of weeks, the wall was gradually disappearing. We actually asked them if they would leave the bit of wall in the backstage area because it meant that we didn't have to put a security fence up.
Is there anybody out there?
They stopped charging people when we got to 250 or 260,000, and there were like another 100,000 people came in, so it was a huge, huge crowd.
I can remember the feeling of this crowd arriving. I tried not to look at it. And that we got up to having got the ticketed audience in, and then there was this debate about what you do. So the decision was taken just to sort of take the fences away so that nobody got crushed, and that's all you could do in that situation.
The great thing about these big shows is it's rather like opera. You've got the singers, you've got the scenery, you've got the orchestra, and you've got the costumes, and all of these various elements come together and they create a whole, which I think is bigger than just the music.
It was very, very difficult to make sure all of that came off all at once. And we were doing it live on television to 50 countries, and then by the end of the week to another 50 countries. An enormous broadcast.
My job really is to imagine images that go with Roger's lyrics and ideas. I have to create a reality out of these floating ideas. He may have a very strong idea in his mind of what these characters look like, but he can't or didn't project them. That was my job, was to interpret his mind, or interpret his mind plus my mind, and create an image which stays. As far as Berlin's concerned, I didn't have so much input because most of my work was already done. They showed the films that I had already completed. They rebuilt, I think, the inflatables that I had designed for the early shows, but they were much bigger. We redesigned, redid the pig, a much more grotesque and frightening pig.
We started with the inflatables. Inflatable structures are very useful in performance because they could appear from nowhere and then disappear. It could be highly painted, very light to move around, and pack up in a small suitcase and take them on to the next